Have you ever wondered why the ancients could predict impending earthquakes, floods, and even plagues? And yet, with AI, satellites, and seismographs, we're always the last to know. Do you think the chaos that has plagued the world since 2020 was a coincidence? Do you think the Earth's wrath erupted suddenly? No, but disasters never strike suddenly. They've been speaking for a long time, but you haven't heard them. Because we've lost the language the ancients used to hear the Earth. Real case comparison. They left their village 3 days in advance, while we cling to the illusion of concrete and steel. In 2004, a devastating earthquake in Indonesia triggered a massive tsunami, burying hundreds of thousands of people in their sleep. Yet a coastal tribe in Sri Lanka evacuated their village en masse 3 days before the earthquake. Why? The tribe leader said only one thing. Birds don't fly, snakes don't move, but the tide is eerily still. The wind has a sense of going the wrong way. There was no radar, no signal, no emergency evacuation notice. They simply looked at the sky, listened to the wind, and smelled the earth. They knew the ground was about to shake. And yet, at this very moment, on that same coastline, tourists in 5-star hotels were still basking in the sun, waiting for the news to sound the alarm. They rely on intuition. While we rely on slow technology, this isn't an exception. If you look at historical records of major disasters around the world, you'll find that almost every time, someone knew ahead of time. Before the Sichuan earthquake, tens of thousands of toads migrated en masse, attracting countless onlookers. Yet the event was considered an ecological wonder. Before the Tangshan earthquake, well water suddenly turned green, dogs barked day and night, and birds crashed into houses and died. Before the 3/11 earthquake in Japan, elders in an ancient fishing village ordered villagers to flee to the mountains, relying not on television but on the stars, the moon and the tides. They weren't prophets, nor were they gods. They simply hadn't severed the invisible thread between them and nature. Do you remember the direction the wind was blowing? Our generation is familiar with Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and cell phone signals, but we've long lost the ability to connect with real energy. Do you know which direction the wind is blowing today? Have you noticed the moon turning redder? Have you felt a strange uneasiness lately? These are all signals, but we no longer understand them. We're used to looking at data, but data is too dull. Our soul's intuition has long preceded us. An inexplicable truth is looming. Why were the ancients able to predict disasters? From childhood, we've been taught that it was because they were superstitious. But the more I research, the more I realize they weren't superstitious. They mastered a kind of invisible science that we've long lost. They used the stars to predict earthquakes and landslides. They used the flight paths of birds to predict the spread of plague. They used dreams, physical sensations, and the viscosity of the air to determine whether the earth was about to reverse. They didn't have instruments, but they possessed a power, the ability to sense the rhythm of the universe. We call this ability superstition, and sever it with our own hands. Do you truly believe that disasters are random? Do you believe that earthquakes cannot be predicted? Then why did the ancients always flee before they did? Do you believe that humans cannot sense nature? Then why do animals always know to flee before we do? Or are we always able to sense it, but we've simply forgotten how to listen? This isn't knowledge, it's connection. In the next few minutes, we will uncover the most astounding ancient prophecies in history, decipher the ancients' methods of sensing disaster, and answer the ultimate question. If they could predict the Earth's fury, did they also predict the collapse of our time? Part 2. Did they truly predict it? Or have we simply never learned to listen? We've seen that the ancients could sense impending disasters, but if you dismiss this as just happy intuition or lucky luck, you're underestimating this history. In fact, deep within the memory of thousands of years of civilization lies a mysterious thread that connects all major civilizations. It's not myth, superstition, or coincidence. It's a forgotten system, an ancient language used to sense the heavens and earth and predict change. Now we'll delve into the memories of 3 civilizations, 3 prophecies that defy common sense, 3 striking echoes of humanity's dialogue with nature. To ancient Chinese records, when the dragon doesn't fly, the mountains will move in 780 BC. the bamboo annals recorded. A dragon was seen in the suburbs. While waters surged, birds flew in reverse, and 5 days later, the ground collapsed and houses collapsed. You know this isn't a fable. This is one of the earliest records of earthquakes in China. Back then, there were no scientific instruments, and no one knew what plate tectonics was. Yet the ancients used the stars, animal behavior, wells, wind direction, air humidity, and so on to create a comprehensive early warning system. They called it the connection between heaven and man. This theory underpins the foundations of traditional Chinese medicine, the I Ching and Feng Shui. The ancients believed that humans are the bridge between heaven and earth, and that their bodies, dreams, and physical reactions are essentially echoes of the changes within and between heaven and earth. Disasters don't strike suddenly. Before every earthquake, plague, or famine, the sky shifts, the ground stirs, and all things warn. Unfortunately today, people are fixated on their phone screens, while that ancient natural radar has long since rusted away deep within their bodies. To the Mayan calendar, more than just a 2012 prophecy. The Mayans predicted the end of the world in 2012. This is the biggest modern misunderstanding of Mayan wisdom. The Mayans didn't say the end of the world. They spoke of the end of one era and the beginning of another. Their calendar was so precise that they could predict solar and lunar eclipses thousands of years into the future. Even NASA today has to acknowledge its astonishing accuracy. But even more astonishing is this: their murals contain the following record. Fires will rage, waters will surge, birds will fly in disorder. The earth will undergo a cleansing. Sound familiar? Tsunamis, earthquakes, volcanoes, floods, modern natural disasters surprisingly carried a certain purification connotation in the Mayan language. They viewed natural disasters not as punishment but as a cleansing mechanism of the cosmic cycle. If humans failed to conform to the rhythm of the earth, they would eventually be excluded from the cycle. 3 Egyptian secrets, Thoth and the rumbling of the earth. In the Egyptian Book of the Dead and the Codex Hermeticum, a term is repeatedly mentioned: the breathing of the earth. The ancient Egyptians believed that the earth, like humans, has breaths, emotions, and rhythms. When the earth's breathing becomes rapid or silent, it is a sign of impending disaster. This may seem abstract until you realize that similar beliefs exist among Chinese, Indian, Mayan, and Native American tribes. They all said, the underground is alive. It speaks, but you no longer listen. Thoth, the legendary god of wisdom, science, and writing, known as the scribe god, once said, disasters do not come from the wrath of heaven, but from humanity's forgetfulness of the rhythm of the earth. All ancient civilizations seem to be saying one thing: disasters are not random events, but part of the rhythm of the universe. When the heavens change, the earth responds. When people become chaotic, their energy dissipates. When things become chaotic, heaven warns. When humanity strays too far from nature, the universe will pull you back in an extreme way. Sound like a warning, right? Yes, it is. Have you ever considered that these ancient civilizations, separated by thousands of miles with different languages and religions, all shared the same conviction: humanity must listen to the earth, or the earth will bring you to your knees. The terrifying thing is, we've become completely deaf. We have supercomputers, but we no longer record even the fluctuations in well water before an earthquake. We can control the weather, but we're oblivious to the humidity and heartbeat of our own bodies. We've built taller buildings than the pyramids, but we're even less aware of the color of the sky than prehistoric tribes. You might say, we have technology now, so these natural senses are no longer useful. But let me ask you, can technology really protect you? If a tsunami comes, can you avoid it? If a flood surges, can you swim upstream? If the earth breaks apart, do you really have the data to grasp? Perhaps technology is our armor, but intuition is our last shield. And the ancients never gave up this shield. If these prophecies aren't myths but a truly valid language system, then how did the ancients do it? How did they detect geomagnetic fluctuations through the stars? Why do animals predict disasters earlier than humans? Is the human body's intuition truly an echo of nature? Why do dreams, insomnia, dizziness, and mood swings often occur before disasters? These are the secrets we will uncover in Part 3. Part 3. To predict disasters, the ancients relied not on superpowers but on their body's memory. They weren't gods, not sorcerers, and certainly not imaginary beings. They simply hadn't yet severed that most ancient connection, the sensory system between the body and the earth. Modern people call intuition pseudoscience, but in ancient times, this ability was considered the most precious survival instinct. Before a disaster strikes, the humidity of the air changes, the direction of birds' flight shifts, and even the temperature of the well water subtly alters. But the first thing to know is never an external instrument but the human body itself. When a sensory system, what you think are emotions are actually signals. The ancients believed that the body can speak, and so can the earth. Earthquakes, floods, epidemics, and climate change all silently transmit emotions to you before they erupt. Have you ever woken up one morning with inexplicable dizziness and chest tightness but couldn't find any cause? Have you experienced persistent insomnia and chaotic dreams for a period, as if your soul is restless? Have you suddenly developed a heightened sense of smell or unusual sensitivity to light or sound? These aren't necessarily signs of illness. They could be that your body has already detected the shift in environmental frequencies, but your brain has ignored them. In ancient times, these were considered premonitory signs, signs of disaster. The Yellow Emperor's classic of internal medicine states, "The heavens have their manifestations, the earth has its feelings, and the human body is the intermediary. Before illness strikes, the spirit is disturbed. Before the earth stirs, the chi is disturbed." 2. The body is a microcosm of celestial phenomena. The ancients didn't treat predicting disasters as a magical art. They had a complete theory of internal and external correspondences. The movement of the stars in the sky mirrors the human body's dreams. The rising ki underground triggers muscle tension. The migration of animals symbolizes the unusual movements of the 5 internal organs. Before wind and rain arrive, the heart fire stirs. Acting as a warning from heaven and earth, they say wind, thunder, water, and fire before they arise externally, stir within. This isn't metaphysics, but a biofield theory reaffirmed by modern science. 3. Why do animals flee first? Because they still remember how to listen. While humans learn to use apps to check the weather and listen to earthquake alerts on television, animals never abandoned their most ancient predictive system. Snakes emerge from the ground before an earthquake, sensing the vibrations below. Cats and dogs become restless, reacting to changes in air pressure and magnetic fields. Birds fly away from the coast before a tsunami, a whisper of the tides and geomagnetic field warning them. Animals aren't intelligent. They simply haven't, like humans, delegated their instincts to machines. 4. How did the ancients predict? Not with their eyes, but with their qui. You might be curious, without AI, radar, or data analysis, how did the ancients detect danger? The answer lies in one word: ki. A slowdown in the flow of ki signifies stagnation. A sudden change in the direction of ki signifies reversal. An imbalance in the yin and yang of ki signifies disruption. And an increase in the vibration of ki signifies imminent great movement. They used their bodies to sense the rhythm of ki, rather than seeing images with their eyes. This isn't meditation, but reading ki, a survival skill once essential for every farmer, healer, and fortune teller. They stand on mountaintops, closing their eyes not to relax but to sense the sharpness of the wind. They squat in the fields, feeling the mud, not to cultivate but to listen for the stickiness of moisture. They gaze at the stars at night, not for romance but to check if the rhythm of the heavens has been disrupted. They exist in a state of dynamic resonance with the heavens and the earth. We locked inside our homes, trapped in air conditioning and data analysis, have long lost the ability to hear that sound. Not prediction but resonance. The ancients never claimed to be able to predict the future. What they said was, "In the midst of this vibration, I sense another vibration approaching." This is their wisdom. You see, before the sky changes, People's dreams become chaotic. Before the water changes, their stomachs churn. Before a strong wind is about to blow, their fingertips feel inexplicably numb. These are all resonances. What we call prediction is actually just a delay in the data model. True prediction is not about future data, but about a deep perception of the present moment. Part 4. Forgotten Rituals. Awakening your inner nature's radar. Disaster doesn't strike suddenly. It speaks when it approaches. But humanity has long since lost its hearing. The question is, do we still have a chance to hear it again? You may not know that ancient civilizations did more than just sense disaster. Their more important wisdom lies in a set of rituals and methods for training sensory abilities. These rituals, spanning continents and eras, are remarkably consistent. Egyptian silence rituals, Taoist breathing exercises, Indian earth listening techniques, Mayan sun visualization, Vedic Surya meditation, all point to a common goal: resynchronizing the body with the heavens and earth, allowing the consciousness to once again receive vibrations from the earth and warnings from the heavens. These are not religions, but rather methods for training humans to return to their instinctive radar. 1. Breathing is the first key to awakening. The ancients said, "Breathing is the bridge between heaven and man." Thoth left a statement in the Emerald Tablet: "When you forget how to breathe, disaster will no longer warn you." This is not a metaphor. Have you ever noticed? Your breathing becomes shallower when you're anxious, and people's breathing before disasters often becomes inexplicably disordered. When you breathe deeply, your hearing, sense of smell, and perception become sharper. Ancient yogis and ascetics considered inhalation and exhalation the foundation of their practice because they knew breathing is the switch that switches internal and external frequencies. The Egyptian 9-second breathing method, India's 3-rhythm breathing, and Taoist reverse breathing techniques all are training the body to react to QI and vibration. Once the breath returns to its original source, the body begins to connect. Once connected, ground vibrations, air fluctuations, and electrical field fluctuations are no longer insensitive dangers. 2. Posture. The position of the antenna. You may think that posture is just a decorative element of meditation, but the ancients never wasted any movement. They believed that the angle and position of different parts of the body determine which frequency you receive. Sitting cross-legged aligns the tailbone with the Earth's magnetic field. Putting your palms together closes the heart's electrical circuit. Raising your head opens the pineal gland and allows you to receive celestial changes. Hugging your knees shuts off the stomach and intestines from dissipating energy outward, and instead focuses on inward perception. In an ancient Tibetan Bon manuscript, there's a rare passage: when heaven and earth are in turmoil, only those who use their bodies as needles, stilling themselves at the center of the earth, can hear all phenomena. They compare the body to a needle, and meditation is a way to insert the body into the earth's energy. Sound exaggerated? But try sitting barefoot on the grass, closing your eyes and breathing for a minute. You'll discover this isn't stillness. It's a vibration that reconnects you. 3. Sound is a frequency. Vibrator sound can be seen. Do you believe it? Of course, you can't see the notes, but you can feel the vibrations of the sound. Before a disaster strikes, many people experience tinnitus, a low-pitched humming, or even a vibration somewhere in their body. Yet they don't know the cause. Ancient civilizations have numerous records of sound warnings. The ringing of Egyptian temple bells was a precursor to floods. The ringing of Indian bone flutes was a way to determine the earth's wrath. Taoists practice the art of listening to bones to detect the rise and fall of Earth's energy. Ancient Greek oracles would listen to the resonance of wind tunnels before entering temples. These aren't myths. They're the reactions of sound frequencies passing through the air, vibrating objects in the body. We, however, are drowned in cell phones, traffic, and electromagnetic noise, and have long since lost our ability to hear the low, near-silent warnings of the world. 4. Dreams are the subconscious language of the earth. Have you ever had a dream like this? A flood floods the city, but no one cares. The ground cracks, but you can't wake up. Birds startled, walking alone in an empty city, your body buried. We call these dreams anxiety or hallucinations, but in ancient times, they were called image dreams. The classic of mountains and seas states, dreaming of mountains collapsing or birds flying backwards is a sign of an earthquake. The rituals of Thoth's disciples also included recording dreams to discern the wrath of heaven and earth. Do you think the disasters? Do you dream of our psychological projections, perhaps? But perhaps it's the earth's subconscious speaking through you. There's still a connection within you, connecting you to the silent roar beneath the earth's crust. As long as you still dream, you haven't completely forgotten. 5. Ritual is not religion, it's a way to remember. Why did the ancients call these exercises rituals? Because they understood. Humans are animals that forget. The most terrifying thing isn't the arrival of disaster. The most terrifying thing is not feeling anything when it strikes. So they established these practices. Sit quietly for 3 breaths at dusk every day, listening to the wind. On the 8th day of each month, place your feet barefoot on the ground to regulate your chi. On the annual Memorial Day, observe the phenomena and record your dreams. These aren't meant to be prayers, but rather to remember. You still have instincts. You are still between heaven and earth, not just the terminals of a cold system. Part 5. How do we survive after hearing the earth? The true horror of a disaster lies not in how quickly it strikes, but in our failure to respond to its call before it arrives. Through this journey, you've learned the ancients weren't gods, but they could predict because they never ignored nature's signals. The prophecies they left behind aren't metaphysics, but a set of perceptual methods we can relearn. They use their breath, their bodies, their dreams, and rituals to maintain the thread of hearing the earth. We, on the other hand, have given our ears to machines and hidden our souls within steel, ultimately falling asleep before the alarm sounds. So, what should you do now? You don't need to become a priest, nor do you need to ascend to a height to see the distant horizon. All you need to do in this age of daily information overload is to pause for a moment, close your eyes, listen to the wind chill, take 3 deep breaths, feel the air's thickness, record your dreams. Pay attention to the subtle agitations in your body. Observe whether the birds are flying lower than yesterday, whether the tips of the leaves have turned. This isn't superstition. It's a kind of survival wisdom, a capacity we've been deprived of for too long, but one that will never die. Can you hear the earth's voice? No, it's whether you're willing to listen again. The true disaster. This isn't the collapse of the heavens and the earth, it's the complete interruption of humanity's dialogue with the earth, and you are the one who can renew your response. Can you be the first to notice something's wrong with the wind? The first to say, this isn't an illusion? The first to use dreams, intuition, and intuition to warn the world? You don't need the whole world to believe you. You just need to stop betraying the signals your body is sending you.